fellas, let's go. Here we go. Big play. Trips open right, 334 stretch, Z post, X stop, on two. Ready?
This is my dad's show.
It's called the Quarterback Dadcast.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast. I want to say thanks to all of our listeners, thanks to all of our sponsors for all your support. We are continuing to enjoy this journey together, inspiring dads, but I want to take a minute now to talk about Acme Homes. You've heard me talk about them before, but I'm going to talk about them again. Bob Cumming, former college teammate, amazing leader, amazing home builder. They continue to take so much pride in the work they do, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. Whether you're looking for a home up in Monroe, up in Sultan, up in Wenatchee, this is where they're doing their amazing things. So many people during the pandemic, as we have the ability to work from home, have decided to move out of the city to try to find homes where there's more acreage. Well, that's exactly what Bob and team at Acme Homes give you. So check out Valley Vista up in Monroe. Check out Daisy Meadows out in Sultan. And if you want to even go to Eastern Washington, check out Sienna Heights in Wenatchee. They're, again, amazing craftsmanship, amazing floor plans. You can visit them at acmehomeswa.com. And if you're interested in learning specifically about listings or mortgage opportunities, contact Jen at 425-308-8082 or Denise at 425-309-2318. So now, why are we doing a new ad? Because we want to talk about a partnership they have with Portage Bank. Kevin Jensen is one of the great lenders over there. He's the senior vice president. He's going to take care of you. And right now, if you obtain a mortgage through Portage Bank, Bob and team at Acme Homes are going to pay your $500 appraisal fee. I said that right. They're going to pay your $500 appraisal fee by buying a home through them, getting your mortgage through the folks at Portage Bank. So don't wait. Now's the time to contact Jen, contact Denise. Again, Jen's number is 425-308-8082. And again, Denise is at 425-309-2318. Visit acmehomeswa.com right now. Don't wait. Thank you again for listening to the Quarterback Dadcast. So with that, let's get right to today's episode. Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast. And one thing I love about the power of the internet, you meet some random people, but some just amazing people. And today's guest is going to be definitely in the amazing category. His name's David Fivecoat. He's the CEO, entrepreneur of a consulting company called Fivecoat Consulting Group. He is a 2017 retired colonel in the Army. He had actually 3 deployments in 2005, 2008. We'll learn about the other one. He's a Ranger School guy. He's from Columbus. And all you Ohio State fans thinking, oh, sweet, another Buckeye, but wrong. It's actually Columbus, Georgia. We're going to talk about that. But most importantly, we're going to talk about David the father. We're going to dive into his book as well. But with that, further ado, Mr. Fivecoat, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Casey, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this. Really enjoy your podcast and just excited to be on here.
Cool. Well, in true QB Dadcast fashion, I always like to start out every episode with what are you most grateful for as a father right now?
So right now, super grateful. We had a parent-teacher night a couple nights ago at the school and got to go meet my daughter's teachers and just get to see a little bit into her life. And get to put some faces with names that she's talked about and see which ones that I thought were really good and that she thinks are really good. And just super grateful for my daughter. She's 12, growing up into a young woman now, really into ballet. Just super grateful for her and how great she's turned out.
That's awesome. That's a good one. I'll stick in the theme of children activities. We're recording in September. This episode will be out in a month or so, everybody. But I'm grateful just for the chance to watch and be present without any expectation of my kids. I watched my son compete in a high school golf match yesterday, and he played really well. Unfortunately, I had to see his one bad hole that he struggled. But what I love is we talk about neutral thinking, which I learned from my friends at Limitless Minds and Trevor Moad, rest in peace, Trevor, who passed away last week. But I taught him neutral thinking, which speaks to me as a quarterback, Uncle Rico moment right there, of just like, staying neutral. Where you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but if we can kind of have a quick memory, get to the next play. And he came back and made an amazing par on 9 to finish. And And then watching my daughter last night she had an hour-long basketball training right into an hour and a half long basketball practice. Never complained, never said I'm tired. Just, man, I can't wait to go to basketball again, Dad. It's like, just, I'm grateful for the mindset that what, they were blessed with. I'm hoping my wife and I maybe will take 1% credit of kind of shaping that mindset of how that's important. But just watching it happen and seeing them grow up, like you mentioned, is just so fun. And I'm just enjoying those moments because I know they're going way too fast before they are out of here.
Right. Sorry to hear about your friend Trevor. We hadn't talked about that before. The golf thing sounds a lot like the Be the Goldfish from Ted Lasso, which I'm a huge fan of. This idea that, hey, you have a bad hole, think about it for 10 seconds. And then after that, you've got to move on to the next one. And I love the fact that he persevered and came back strong on the ninth and made that par.
Yeah. Well, ironic, you bring up our boy Ted Lasso. I'm actually speaking here in 2 hours to one of my clients, one of their executive meetings. I actually have Ted Lasso in the presentation. I have a massive goldfish presentation, actually slide in the goldfish in the presentation. And I have a T-shirt that says "Be a Goldfish." So I should have wore that for today. That would even made it today even better.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed the second season. I know the second season hasn't been exactly the same as the first. I was able to binge watch the whole first because I kind of got into it late. But I like the direction that it's going. There's been one of my more popular blog posts has been the leadership lessons of Ted Lasso from season 1. It's gotten a lot of hits. And so I'm excited about writing the one on leadership lessons from season 2. And I'm making my notes as the season goes on about which things to talk about. But the one episode that I don't know if you've seen already is about how Roy Kent takes Isaac to the soccer pitch that he grew up on and played, and helps him rediscover that it's fun to play. Yep. And he takes that out to the big pitch and sparks the team to. I think they don't tie after that one, but then they get on a winning streak after that.
That was awesome. I mean, for anybody who we could do a whole episode on Ted Lasso. I think I can tell we have a passion for that one. So anybody who has not seen that show, if you don't have Apple TV, go buy it. It's worth it. You will not regret it. It's a tearjerker. It's a great leadership show. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll question yourself, you'll rethink the way you. Actually, it's great for parents. It's just so many great lessons. So, okay. Well, so you mentioned your daughter. Tell me what life looks like right now in your family. Like, work shuts down, and just the family. What does the home look like right now?
Yeah, so I'm a divorced dad. My ex and I separated in 2014. So I was going through a lot of things as I ended my career in the Army, went through separation and eventually divorce. But we both live here in Columbus, Georgia. We live about 2 miles apart. Our daughter splits time between both houses. And my daughter is all into ballet. She's currently 5 lessons a week, plus 2 sessions for Nutcracker, because she got 2 roles in the Nutcracker here in town, and she does 2 practices for that on Saturday. So she's all in on that. But she's coming over this weekend. We're going to do some stuff tomorrow night. She's got ballet all day Saturday. And then Sunday, I'm actually going to the bike race that I'm talking about, and she's going to come up and watch that. And hopefully cheer Dad on at the bike race.
Oh, very cool. You should actually get one of those like tandem bikes. Let her ride in the back.
You are not the first person to mention that. She's got a mountain bike, and I can get her to go 10 or 15 miles with me. We have a great trail system here in Columbus, Georgia called the Dragonfly Trails with no traffic on it. You can go for literally 30 miles without encountering a car. And so she and I get out there on the weekends and get an opportunity to ride together and just talk and see, be outside and all those things. You talked about like being in the present with your kid. It's such a great feeling, and just get to see what's on her mind is super interesting.
Oh, I love that. Well, talk about what was life like growing up with you. Talk about brothers, sisters, and then just tell me about that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Delaware, Ohio, which is about 20 minutes north of Columbus, Ohio. I am a Buckeyes fan, so for all your fans out there, I am a Buckeyes fan. I think this season is going to be a little bit of a struggle as I've watched it play out so far over the first 3 games. So we'll see how it goes. See if I'm hopefully I'm wrong. I have a younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me. My dad was into sports. He was a high school math teacher, football, basketball, and tennis coach. So we started playing sports out in the backyard early. Remember, fond memories of playing one-on-one baseball versus my brother, and we'd get out in the backyard in the fall, and we'd have my dad would be the QB, and my brother and I would swap off between being the wide receiver and the DB, and just countless hours out there doing that. Nobody from my family had, at least immediate family, had been in the military. But as a kid, I loved to read. And one advice that I can give to especially new dads that are out there, set up the nightly habit of reading to your kids from birth on. My parents did it for me. My dad still tells all new parents to do this. I tell all new parents to do it. But it gives your kids an advantage, and it creates this bond between you and your child. If you're a parent, my daughter ended up being one of the few people that could read when she made it into kindergarten. We attribute it to the nightly reading. I was one of the few people that could read in my kindergarten class. And so it's just one of those advantages you can give to your kids. And it just takes 15 to 20 minutes a night. It's great for dads because it gives potentially, if the wife is the primary caregiver, gives you an opportunity to bond with your child, have that little bit of time, and give your spouse a break each evening. So I encourage that. But anyway, nobody in my family had been in the military, but I love to read. And I love to read military history, especially World War II. And probably read just about every book in the Delaware County Library on World War II. And of course, all the American generals in World War II went to West Point. So when it came time to apply to colleges, I applied to West Point. I got in early. I went and visited, and it just really seemed like a great fit. I played high school sports, played football, tennis, baseball, and then wrestled for 1 year. Enjoyed sports and was drawn to West Point because they really go on the whole person concept. So your grades are not only your academic grades, but also your military and your athletic. And so I like that aspect of the military from West Point all the way through the end of my time in the Army.
Wow. Talk about, it's interesting. I was writing down, I don't know if it's your luck, but you've lived in cities that actually have 2 cities around the United States: Delaware, Ohio, Delaware, Maryland. Right? I mean, isn't Delaware Maryland?
No. So I've never lived in Delaware, Maryland. I'm in Columbus, Georgia now.
Right.
So but I lived in Alexandria, Virginia when I worked at the Pentagon. That was as close as I got to either Delaware or Maryland.
But I guess I was just kind of being sarcastic about like there's so many cities out there in the United States, you don't realize it, that have 2 cities in multiple places in the United States.
Yeah.
You know, speaking
there's lots of Columbuses out there. There's, Columbus, Georgia. I think there's a Columbus, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
You start, they're all over the place.
Wow. Tell me, where do you think your love for military history first started? Where did the curiosity come from?
I don't know. Like a lot of kids, I like to draw. I like to draw like tanks and airplanes and stuff like that. I had my Army Men collection that I'd go out in the backyard and play with. G.I. Joe was popular in the 70s and had a bunch of G.I. Joe figures. So I think that was sort of reinforced the reading aspect of it. I don't know. I really liked Eisenhower and Patton and Omar Bradley and James Gavin. Those guys, seemed larger than life to a 8 or 9-year-old kid, and what they were able to accomplish during World War II. I think all those things sort of came together. And I like the organization and structure. My parents had a lot of organization and structure. The running joke in the family was that there was going to be less rules at West Point than there was with my mom. And so I don't know. I think all those things combined to end me up at West Point.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about mom and dad. Talk about the impact they had on you growing up, and then maybe talk about some key lessons you took from them that you're now applying to your daughter.
Yeah. So my dad started off as a high school teacher and coach. He eventually went and worked at Western Auto there was a warehouse there in town, and he was a manager at the warehouse. But the big thing I took away from him is the work ethic and the grit that he displayed, on a regular basis. And I know a lot of folks out there, the example that they get where they learn about grit is from their parents. Dad was super hard worker, still a hard worker, is always out working in the yard or doing projects around the house, and just sort of set that example. He also, you and I were talking about AAU basketball. He volunteered to coach soccer and some of the other sports that I played as a kid, and set that example. My mother was actually involved in both of them were math majors, and and of course my worst subject is math. I do a lot better in history and anything that involves writing and reading. But she was on the cutting edge of computers. She worked a couple of different places with early computers. But she was also an athlete. They played tennis together. She got into running in the big running craze, and actually ran every day for 18 years straight. So
Wow.
A little bit of grit there, a little bit of perseverance, a little bit of, hey, how do you keep a streak going? Those kind of things were shown to me at a young age.
What stopped the streak?
She took one day off and then ended up starting another streak that lasted over a decade.
Wow.
And it was like it was like traveling for a funeral, and she wasn't feeling a family funeral, and she wasn't feeling real well, so she took the day off and then went back into it and kept going. She trained for a marathon in there, ran the marathon, did well at that, and then was big into racing 5K and 10Ks as I was a kid. I would get bribed to go to the race with her I would get the T-shirt. She'd go run. I hated running as a kid. I don't know about you and your kids, but I didn't really like it. But then I loved it as an adult. And so that example that she set, I ended up racing a bunch of 5Ks and 10Ks and half marathons as an adult, but hated it as a kid. But would get bribed to go to the races through getting the T-shirt afterwards.
Nice. Are you giving your daughter the T-shirt from the bike race this weekend?
No, but I did get her to. So here in Plains, Georgia, every fall is the Plains, Georgia Peanut Festival, and Jimmy Carter used to run the 5K, but now he actually gives out the prizes. And so my daughter and I went out and there was a 1K fun run, and she did it 2 years in a row and ended up placing in her age group, and Jimmy Carter gave her medal. So it was kind of cool. And I did it as a 25-year-old captain. I raced in the 5K and got a medal from Jimmy, from President Carter. Interestingly, he was wearing he went to the Naval Academy. He was wearing a Naval Academy polo. And so as he was giving me the medal, I said, "Go Army, beat Navy." And he sort of laughed and said, "Go Navy, beat Army." So you can give even former presidents grief over their college selections.
You got to. I love that. Besides grit, besides hard work, perseverance, anything else come to mind that you are doing your best to apply those core values per se to your daughter?
Yeah, so school was very important to my parents. They were always interested in my grades and academics. It was on me to figure out studying, but they set up a good environment, a good home life where we all sort of did dinner around the dinner table at 6 to 7 o'clock. And then afterwards, we were expected to do homework. I don't know. Another interesting thing that they figured out was that I was actually better the more busy I was. And so the year that I played sports, the couple of years in high school where I played sports all 3 seasons, my grades were actually better than one of the years where I took a season off. And so that was sort of interesting. I try to pass on that academic stuff to my daughter. Like she struggled a little bit in math last year, so I bet her $20 that she couldn't bring the grade up 3 points, and so she actually did it and took the $20 off me. But to me, it seemed like a fun way to get her maybe to pay a little bit more attention to what her grade was, and do that. But try to emphasize that. I don't know if we do as good a job reading with the competition now between the iPad. We got my daughter a phone when she graduated from 6th grade. We tried to hold out as long as possible.
Oh yeah.
But the competition between that. But I do say I don't know if you did, but I know me and my brother played a lot of Atari growing up, and it's just evolved into different tools now. But trying to make sure that she understands that reading is important and schoolwork is important, and I think she's taken that and applied that.
I think this is the first Atari reference on the Quarterback Dadcast, so congratulations.
Now, the other one
Flashback.
that actually you should remember is the little, and I don't even remember what the name is, but it was a little handheld NFL game that you could move the little red dot up and down with the buttons.
Yep.
We played a lot of that too.
Oh yeah, I still have one of those. I gave it to my sister. But my dad unfortunately has gone through a lot of health challenges. I talk about it in episode 2, but when we were moving him out of his place years ago, we found one of those old games. I'm like, oh, this is outstanding. And I actually showed it to my son now, who's 15. He's like, Dad, what the hell is this? It was pretty funny. Like, this is what I played, bro. This is legit.
Right. It's not Minecraft.
No, exactly. Are mom and dad still with us?
Mom and dad are both still with us. My dad does half the year in Ohio and half the year in Florida. And my mom does about 10 months in Ohio and about 2 months in Florida. They still live about 15, 20 minutes away from where I grew up. And my brother's there too.
Very cool.
Deep in Buckeye land.
Yeah. I joked with, shout out to Rob Cornwall, if you're listening to this episode, buddy. Rob, my buddy, is former colleague, but good friend. He's the only person out of Columbus to actually root for Michigan, which makes no sense. And how'd you guys let him do that? All the Columbus people out there, you got a Wolverine in your backyard. Look out, Rob.
Yeah. So my ex-wife's parents are from Michigan, and her father went to the University of Michigan. And so my daughter has started wearing this University of Michigan sweatshirt. Uh-oh. And we struck an agreement that if my daughter, she's like, hey, Dad, what if I go to Michigan? And I had told her this story about my dad where I was looking at colleges and I said, hey, I'm thinking about Michigan. It's got a really good academic program. And my dad, in all seriousness at the dinner table, goes, hey, if you go to Michigan, I'll only drive you as far as the border. Like, okay, we'll take that one off the list. But right. My daughter heard that story and she likes to poke me a little bit. And so she wears this Michigan sweatshirt. She's like, Dad, now if I go to Michigan, will you wear a Michigan shirt? And I'm like, well, I guess if for the 4 years that you're there, I'll wear a Michigan shirt, but I can't cheer for them at Ohio State, Michigan.
Right.
You just got to understand. She's like, okay, great. Well, that seems like a good enough deal.
That's awesome. Well, before I forget, I want to say, man, thank you for your service. And I don't take that for granted because there's so much freedom we have for folks like you who've sacrificed so much to go over there and protect us. So thank you for everything you and your team have done. That's funny. Ironic. My wife and I are watching a documentary still from 9/11, and the episode last night was when the Pentagon got hit. And it's a National Geographic documentary. It just like I can't believe this stuff still. And it's 20 years ago.
No,
So
it's hard to
maybe,
believe it's 20 years ago. I had some friends that were working at the Pentagon that day, and interestingly, uh, I don't know if your listeners might enjoy this story, but anyway, they evacuate the Pentagon and they have everybody sort of standing outside, and they realize that they've got to send some folks back in to look and try to help rescue people and get them out. Not right into the fires where the firefighters are fighting, but along the periphery of where the aircraft crashed. And so the way the Army figures out how to select people is they ask folks what they scored on the Army physical fitness test. And the Army physical fitness test is scored on a scale of 300. And so basically they took anybody that scored 290 and above, and they put them into an organization and sent them back into the building to help look for people and help people get out.
wow.
I just find it interesting, the Army's bureaucracy. Hey, we're gonna figure out who goes back into the burning building based off how well you scored on the PT test.
I mean, it makes sense. You don't want the guy who's weighs 600 pounds, let his body
Right.
go back in there, and all of a sudden he can't even walk. So talk about like the impact of going overseas. Multiple deployments. How did that impact you as a father?
Yeah. So just so folks understand my backstory, was commissioned as an officer in 1993 as an infantry officer. Went and did a couple of schools, including Ranger School, which is the Army's premier small unit leadership school, and then went to the 82nd Airborne Division. And as a very young lieutenant in the 82nd Airborne Division in 1994, we got all rigged up in our parachutes and with live ammo and flew halfway down to Haiti because if anybody remembers, in 1994, there was a huge crisis over Haiti, and we were in the U.S. Wasn't real happy with the leader, Cedras, of Haiti. So we were going to invade Haiti. The Cedras actually left peacefully, and we put in some military folks into Haiti. I didn't personally go because we had flown halfway down and turned around and came back. But we got really close to going into combat. Fast forward to 9/11, and immediately after 9/11, I went to Bosnia. And Bosnia at that point in time was sort of a way station for Al-Qaeda to move out of the Middle East into Europe. And so did some work for about 6 months there in Bosnia, doing some counter-terrorist work. And then went to the 101st Airborne Division and did the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Went back to Iraq 2 more times, 2005, and then 2007 and 2008. And then took command of a battalion, the 3rd Battalion 187, known affectionately as the Iron Rakkasans, and went with them to Afghanistan in 2010 and 11. After that, I went and worked in the Pentagon and then did a job here at Fort Benning, Georgia, where I led the Army's Ranger School through the gender integration of the school. We can talk about all that. But those deployments, they're year-long deployments. It's a 7-day week, 7-day a week kind of job. There's a lot of adrenaline because there's, even if you're working inside a building, there's, mortar rounds and stuff landing on the base at night. And so there's a chance, you're definitely scared. There's an opportunity that, things aren't going to work out real well for you. And so taking all that and feeling like, hey, worked really hard and tried to make a difference in both Iraq and Afghanistan. It's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and then how do you apply that to raising kids? And some of that, I think it gave me a longer perspective on things, less short term. Try to apply that because in 2005 in Baghdad, it didn't feel like we moved the needle at all. Go back a year later in 2007, 2008. And over 15 months, things changed. Things actually did a 180. Things got very peaceful there due to the awakening and the surge and a few other factors. Go to Afghanistan in 10/11, think that, hey, we'll be able to replicate that same thing that we were able to do in Iraq, and it doesn't happen. And so you definitely learn that.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods, who continue to be just an amazing, loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit catchsitkaseafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now's the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, catchsitkaseafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you know you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode.
You can only move things so far. Sometimes things work out really well. Sometimes they don't. And try to make sure that she understands that perspective of, hey, these things are, sometimes you really have to persevere and spend a lot of time to move the needle on anything.
It's almost like you're teaching grit and patience.
Right. And, I'm sure you see it with your new company. You have to have a longer sort of view, as much as we would like it to be, snap of the fingers or 3 months, from rags to riches. Those overnight success stories sometimes take 5 or 10 years in the making, and you got to have a failure or two in there in order to have that success.
Well, you nailed it, man. It's like, that's the title of my book is called "Win the Relationship, Not the Deal," and it's exactly that thing. It's you win people, and people aren't won in your first meeting. It takes time. And anything, I tell my kids, anything that happens quick or is too easy, it's probably not worth it, or it's going to be tougher to withstand some of the ups and downs. But when you just like you're building a house, if you make sure it's earthquake safe, you use the right cement. You put nails where they're supposed to go. You have a good foundation. Like in any weather storm, you're gonna be okay. And I definitely have long term. I don't know if it's maybe the hashtag Uncle Rico, quarterback in me here, but like always believing there's a chance. Always believing in something. I always ask my kids, my clients I coach, like, do you believe what you do matters? And if the answer is yes, then we got to have that belief of let's keep going. And I just think if thinking negatively is always going to create negative results. Thinking neutral or positive gets a lot better chance of something good to happen. And I believe in, this is what the work I do at Limitless Minds, so it just so speaks to me is, I always say thoughts become things is one, but two, when things always happen twice in life. Once you see it, and then once you go make it happen. That power of visualization. So it's like, things you're talking about that totally speaks to me. And I guess so. As you transition out of the Army, how hard was that?
It's challenging, and I've watched a lot of my friends struggle with it. I will say one thing that helped me. If you take my Army career and you include the 4 years at West Point, it was 28 years in a uniform, 24 on active duty. But frankly, you get sort of institutionalized with that, and part of your identity becomes being a soldier and being an infantryman and being a paratrooper and all these things. And just like anything, we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And for me, that was for 28 years, that was the Army. And I wanted to be part of that and make a contribution and help develop other folks in the Army and help make my organization as great as it could possibly be. And so when you say, okay, for me in 2017, you're going to hang the uniform up and make that transition, uh, it's challenging to figure out what your new, or for me, it was challenging to figure out what my new identity was going to be. And one of the things that helped me bridge that was my identity as an athlete. Um, when I was in the Army, I always looked forward to the physical fitness. The Army does physical fitness in the morning, tends either from 6 a.m. to 7:30 or 6:30 to 8, depending on what unit you're in. Um, but I always look forward to that. And I would always joke that I was a professional athlete because I was getting paid to actually work out and stay physically fit. Um, and so I would look forward to that. And I use that as sort of as a to help me make the transition from my former job of being a soldier to what was next.
Mm-hmm.
And so did some triathlons for a couple of years. Now I'm more into just cycling, but both of those have sort of helped me navigate that transition. And I've seen other guys struggle with it. They leave the Army. They're always posting on Facebook about the Army and different deployments and different friends, and they weren't able to make that next step to what was next. And for anybody, I tell that I'm coaching on getting ready to get out. Hey, it doesn't have to be physical fitness like me, but you've got to figure out what's going to help you make that transition. And it could be your spiritual beliefs. It could be something else that you're good at on the side. Maybe it's woodworking or a hobby of some sort. But you've got to figure out how to help yourself make that transition, because I've seen a lot of folks struggle with it. Just had a really close friend kill himself earlier this summer, age 50, 2 kids and a wife. He had been out for 2 years, and now as we as friends try to help out the family on the back end, figure out that there were a lot more things going on with Pete's life than we all sort of knew. And so,
Wow. Was it
those kind of,
PTSD?
I think a little bit, and I think he just was in a tough spot trying to take care of the kids. His wife had a stroke, and um, trying to figure out his new job and new role, just all sort of combined together.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
you see the folks that get into a lot of alcohol as they try to navigate that transition, and like, man, or actually the other one I see is folks that really, were physically fit in the military, and then they let themselves go and, put on 50 pounds. And, yeah, it happens to all of us in our 40s, and, you put on a little extra weight in your 40s and 50s, but, making that life transition, I think, accelerated it for some folks, or
Mm-hmm.
the military was what was keeping them accountable to stay physically fit, and now they've lost that accountability, and they don't get it. With that all being said, then I went to work for another company for a little while, and then on the cusp of the pandemic in March of 2020, which I think is a lot like you, decided that I needed to start my own company, and so started blogging. I think you started doing podcasts as your gateway into the new job, but started blogging. I blog twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays about leadership topics. But that for me started off this thing, and then one thing led to another, and I'm doing leadership talks to groups. I wrote a book, and um, I'm also now doing executive coaching with about 10 clients. So all those things it sort of works out. But if you'd asked me back in March of 2020 when I first got out, or when I first started my own company, man, that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know when. I have a newfound respect for small business owners, because
Yeah.
if you don't have a client coming in the door, you don't keep the lights on, and that was a lot of fear. I now use a story about jumping out of airplanes and how the Army conquers that fear with the same sort of fear that I experienced getting ready to start my own company. And I wouldn't have been able to start the own company if I hadn't worked for the other company and seen how they did it. But that gave me some confidence and helped me have the confidence to strike out and start my own thing.
Yeah, I love that. I think those stories are so powerful, one, not only for you, but I think as we share with our kids. And as you were saying that, David, you made me think about like these flashpoints in life. And for me, I had a big injury happen in high school that I still think about today. I still think about that impacts me today, where it taught me that we're all replaceable. It taught me about ego. It taught me to say that, you might be great today, but we're only great for 1,440 minutes and the clock resets. And how are we going to be great tomorrow? So I talked to my kids about that. And, I was our starting quarterback my junior year. I get hurt, break my foot in 4 spots, don't play my senior year. The guy who comes in, who I beat out my junior year, he now takes us state playoffs, first time in 20 years.
Wow.
Second team all league. And he broke our single season passing yardage record. I had to just watch. I think I left my company, former K-Force, was top seller there for years. If you pulled a lot of people that work there, like Casey, who I've never heard of that guy. And like, that doesn't impact me, right? Because I know that until I change my phone number to 911, I'm not that important, right? Was I proud of things I did? Sure. But it doesn't define me. And I think if there's any dad listening, like, just take that away from our episode. Like, at the end of the day, whether you're a CEO, a janitor, a bus driver, a colonel of the army, an author, in the end, we all have the same job description, which is dad. And that's really the goal of this podcast, is just to like kind of bring that level of authenticity down and awareness that we're all doing our best. How can we learn from each other? What life lessons work, what don't. Be vulnerable enough to share your gaps, which we've done on previous episodes, which may be a perfect segue into this. Is I'll ask you, David, like, tell me a time where you weren't your best as a dad, that maybe that can that relate, or an area of your dad game that you're really focused on, trying to be more self-aware, to be a better leader of your home. Describe what comes to mind when I ask you that.
Yeah. So one of the nagging questions in the back of my head is, daughter's now 12, and it's a really interesting time, and in 7th grade, so 5 years of school left, and then college. But it's the question that keeps nagging at me is, what do I need to do to set her up to be successful as an adult? What haven't I taught her? What haven't I shown her? That will make her avid. I make her have a competitive advantage over her peers. And hey, do I need to teach her about, one of the things that I've been thinking about is investing. Okay, now she is old enough to kind of see that and understand it. And hey, how do you teach? And I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have all the answers on it, but hey, how do I teach her how to invest and be able to do that and have an advantage out in life with that, to take some of the experience that I learned over the last 50 years and apply it going forward. The other interesting thing that has come about over the last year or two is, just as I watch her, and for divorced dads out there, I was struck by what qualities that she's taken away from me. She spends more time with her mom. And so I figured that a lot of her qualities and behaviors would be more like her mom. But interestingly, she really likes to be organized and likes to be on time. And at some point in time, she said, "Hey, Dad, I really like it when you pick me up because I know you're always going to be on time." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize that actually resonated with you and really impacted you." But to me, that's like, oh, okay. So I was, all this sort of, accountability and making sure you get to where you need to be on time, and the stuff that I took away from the military, that's resonated with you, and I'm glad that it did, and that was one of my proud dad moments.
Oh, I love it. One of my challenges as a dad that I've talked about openly on many episodes that I think it's maybe because I'm just a very competitive person, is patience. And there's a training workshop I went through recently with some of my colleagues. And there's a circle on this line that and it's a big circle. It says me noticing a difference. And those words speak to me, because when I notice I'm not my best version of myself, I have to say that I'm noticing a difference. What's driving me to the spot that's not who I am? I don't want to be this person. Like, how do I slow down? Because like my dad at times would freak out on the silliest things. He dropped the most amazing. I got to put the little E next to this episode now. God damn it, Casey! Like, and then we would laugh so hard because it was like just the most outstanding GD bomb ever. Me and my sister would laugh, and thankfully I'm not dropping F bombs from my kids. But like, there's times just like anything, we get tired, we got stressed, and all of a sudden you're like, shoot, and you got to learn to apologize to your kids, or you gotta say, hey, that's not how Dad should have reacted. That's my bad. So like for me, patience. Tell me what your gap or self-awareness you're trying to work on to be better.
One of the things, I struggle with is right now, sometimes it's tough to get her to do things. She's stubborn. She's trying to figure out her own identity, and hey, let's go out and ride the bike, or let's go for a walk. No, I'd much rather, sit on my phone or iPad or watch a TV show or whatever. And I'm sure all dads encounter it. And sometimes I got to take a deep breath and go, okay, I got to explain the why. And to me, sometimes that's where I don't have the patience where, I want us to be active and do stuff and get out of the house and just do things together. And we have great walks and great talks when we're out on the walks. But I think, she, of course, would like to text her friends or do things like that. And so sometimes taking that extra second to explain the why and say, okay, we're going to, we went and played golf a couple, 2 weekends ago. And of course I had to say, okay, now I'll let you drive the cart from hole 2 to hole 8. So you get to do that. And we need to do this because I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better at golf because my West Point buddies all beat me really badly at golf this year. So, but those things are where, I certainly have some shortcomings and sometimes get frustrated with her, like, hey, we're going to go now. And, I can turn on the Colonel command voice and then sometimes I got to realize, like you mentioned, I got to apologize afterwards. Like, hey, I didn't mean to come down on you so rough. I'm trying for the best here. I want us to do things. And, we try to play games when she's over here because, want her to have those memories on down the road that, hey, we actually did things other than sit around the house and watch TV or sit on our phones.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it definitely resonates with me, I know will resonate with other fathers out there and maybe moms listening. But, one thing that I learned in my business development sales career, and now I use a lot in my coaching, is the power of curiosity. It's one of my favorite words. And I had this phrase hit me in 2020. It said, we have to listen to learn versus listen to persuade. And when we're asking questions, and I use a framework that I was taught, shout out John Kaplan, my boy, TED-based questions, which is tell me, explain, describe. Super simple, yet very, very hard to rewire the way we ask questions because we as humans are flawed. We ask, what, do you, can you, these closed-ended questions that never produce really good outcomes. Just like in business, we're taught to ask open-ended questions, uncover what's not working so we can figure out, can we help someone or not? Same thing with kids. And for all the dads out there, like, just try it. Like, instead of saying, how was your day? Good. What'd you do? No, not much. All right. You want to go for a walk? Nope. All right. Well, have fun on your phone. We'll see you in 3 hours. Right. Those are horrible questions. But if I said, hey, Ryder, tell me about school today. It was all right, Dad. You keep talking about math. Like, describe why you like math versus any of the other subject. And then when you get something, once they bite, tell me more about that. And hopefully people are hearing the curiosity in my voice, but you have to like probe, genuine interest in probing. And I think that's what relationship building with our kids, with anybody in life is about, is just making it about them and meeting them where they are. So I love the stuff we're talking about.
The TED thing sounds a lot like, you got to ask why multiple times, either on a sales call or with your kids,
Mm-hmm.
so why did that, why was today just sort of average? Or, and, you get to talk, okay, so why did that matter to you? And get them to sort of talk about what's really going on.
Yeah,
And,
become a
and there are
3-year-old.
times, I'm sure with your kids, there are times like last night, we have a deal as divorced parents that the parent that isn't with the child calls and gets to talk to the child, talk to Nora at 8 o'clock every night that they're not with them. And so you get sort of an update, and some nights, she's busy and got friends and stuff, and you get a 1 minute call. But then last night was like a 15-minute call because, she was on this sort of high and was talking about all kinds of things. And I learned a couple new things from her on, oh, okay, now I get that. And we were talking about some of her teachers that I got to meet a couple nights ago. And so it was just a really good call because she was sharing and felt comfortable, and it was one of those good sort of, open-ended kind of discussions.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And I think when those happen, sometimes they happen when you don't want them to happen because you're busy or whatever it may be. And so dads, if you find your kids open up, be present, put the phone down, take advantage of those moments that David just talked about to really let them open up and listen, because it's about them now. It's about them trying to share what's going on. And if that's your time to create those moments of great communication, that's what an awesome opportunity as a father to do that. Okay, I want to ask, so as we recap here before we get into the lightning round, and I want to make sure we point people at the end of your blog and your book and coaching, and so make sure we highlight that too. But if you were to summarize kind of a couple things from this episode that dads can take away to really become that ultimate quarterback or colonel of their household, tell me what comes to mind. How would you summarize what we talked about in an actionable way for dads at home to take away what we've talked about?
So the number one thing for all the new dads that are listening, or the soon to be dads, is set up the habit of reading to your child every night. As a dad, gives you a great time to bond with your newborn, and then eventually, 2, 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old child, and sets them up for success when they go to school. I can't stress that enough. The second biggest thing I would say is, I enjoyed the conversation about hey, how do you get your kids to open up more? And whether it's the 3 whys or the TED, which is
Tell me, explain, describe.
Explain and describe. Those are great ways to connect with your kids, and connect with anybody, really. How many times have we gotten into conversations with adults that aren't really interested at all in you and are all talking about themselves, and it's all about them? And so those open-ended questions are at least a way to get maybe a little bit better discussion out of that. Those 2 things are my big takeaways from it. I don't know what else you got out of this.
Yeah, no, it's good. This is about you. You made me. I was laughing because I was about to laugh because I've heard sometimes where they joke. My father-in-law was a Navy. He was a vigilante pilot in the Navy aircraft carrier.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's a retired Alaska Airlines pilot. And I've seen this. I've been on the carrier he was on and saw the plane in San Diego. I was like, dude, I mean, this thing's a monster. I'm like, how the heck did you do this? But he used to always joke about, if you always want to know who the Navy pilot is in the room, it's enough about me. Let's talk about me again.
Right. Well, it's the pilot / CrossFitter / vegan. How will you know that person? Because they'll tell you.
Oh, it's funny. So I'm like an old man CrossFit now, but I don't. My fitness goals are don't get fat and don't get hurt, which people think I'm joking, but I'm actually, there's kind of some sarcasm, but it's dead serious. If I can stay out of the PT room and just keep moving without, and you gotta check your ego, right? But like when I was in, like, let's say late 30s, really into CrossFit, like deadlifts, muscle ups, all this stuff, I was like, that's all I wanted to talk about. You CrossFit bro? I CrossFit bro.
Right. Hey, if you're looking for a guy, I love Dan John. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan John. He's out of Utah. Was a All-American track and field guy, like threw the discus and maybe the shot put and hammer. But he's old man fitness, really kind of good stuff out there. 6 fundamental lifts, the deadlift, squat movement, bench press, some sort of pull, and then weighted carries. And then I add abdomen kind of work on top of that. He has 5. I add the 6 of abdomen. But he's got a blog, a bunch of books. He does a podcast as well.
Wow.
He was on like The Art of Manliness, if you ever heard
Oh, yeah.
that. But really interesting guy and super smart. He was a Fulbright scholar
Wow.
after college. And so just writes well, speaks well, and just has some good stuff for how do we keep our muscles strong as we age. And then especially as we even get older than that, how do you avoid injuring yourself?
Yeah, injuries are no bueno. Okay. We're going to go to the lightning round, which I ask you the most random things on top of my head. Thursdays, I find I'm more sarcastic and goofy, which is, again, the inside of the brain of a collegiate quarterback, which we have a screw loose. Might be the CTE hits we've taken. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. True or false? Your favorite movie is Stripes.
False. Top
True
Gun.
or false? True. Top Gun.
Yeah, I must have seen it. I must have watched it like 90 times. I could do all the lines.
Negative. Ghost Rider. Pattern is full.
Right.
True or false? Stripes motivated you to join the Army.
False.
That's my buddy Charles. Shout out to you, Chuck. Heavy sarcasm on that one. If I was to come to your house tonight, what are you cooking for dinner?
That is a $64,000 question because daughter is over tonight and her eating habits have gotten a little bit challenging. And so we will get into it. I'll pick her up at school at 3:15 and we'll be in a negotiation for a little while on what exactly we're having for dinner. I had chicken and rice last night that I made, but tonight's a little bit more iffy. We'll see what we get out of that.
There we go.
When I pick her up.
Talk about your favorite memory succinctly at West Point.
So favorite memory, West Point actually had 8-man full tackle football as an intramural sport. You could only play it for 2 years. And so my junior year, a bunch of us played and the team went all the way to the finals. We lost in the finals. But it was also, so I had played guard and linebacker in high school, but on this 8-man team, got to play running back and end and punter. I think I only came off the field for the kickoff. But it was like every lineman's dream, that, I got to touch the ball, I got to run with it. And it was just a lot of fun. We were good. It was a good way to, meet there were new freshmen that were on the team. And so it was fun to be part of it with them. And there were new juniors that had moved into this new organization. And so just a great experience.
That's awesome. I know my O-line brotherhood out there. I know you guys, they don't get to touch the ball very often. That's why the old Polaruski. And then today, actually on September 23rd, I interviewed a gentleman recently. His name's Todd Fordham. He actually played NFL, offensive line in the NFL, Florida State, All-American. And so his episode came out today. So as a former O-lineman, if you're looking for a good episode, everybody check that one out. Right. What's the last book you read?
So right now I'm in the midst of reading Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. It's an amazing book. Got recommended it by one of the West Point buddies that I play golf with. But it's about how to think about decisions differently as bets rather than a black and white kind of thing. She was a world-class poker player. And then actually almost finished her PhD in psychology and then decided to become a poker player, writes really well, and gets you to think about how do I make better decisions, and will some of her techniques of thinking about it and, hey, am I 50% sure this outcome is going to happen or 70% sure? And then whenever anybody asks you to put money on it, like, hey, Casey, can you eat 50 White Castles in one sitting? I'll bet you $200 you can't do it. You have to think, okay, can I really do that or not? I don't know. Just she's got me to think differently, and I really enjoy books like that make you think.
Sounds awesome. Tell me your favorite World War II book.
The one that I've read the most is Band of Brothers. I've read that a couple of times. So love that book. Love the miniseries. It's actually, it came out 20 years ago this September. It came out, I think, right before 9/11. It's hard to believe that it's that old, but both the book and movie are amazing.
Awesome. If you were to book a vacation today, where are you going?
Actually going to go skiing in Utah. Actually, I was looking at packages yesterday. So skiing in Utah for spring break with my daughter.
That's cool. And if there was to be a movie written about your life so far, tell me the title and tell me the character that's going to star you.
So we'd call it American Centurion. Which is about my deployment experiences in Kosovo, Bosnia, Korea, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And the guy I thought, just because he was bald, was the guy from, it was the Shield. Can't remember the actor's name. But,
I thought you were going to say Bull from Night Court. I was like, don't say him.
He's taller than me, though, I think. So have to find somebody that's willing to shave their head, right?
I could play you. I got a bald head.
Right, right. You could be perfect.
Awesome. Well, lightning round is over. You made it through it unscathed. That's some cool stories about you that maybe made me laugh a little bit. For people that want to check out your blog, they want to learn more about your coaching, they want to learn more about your book, tell me the best place I can send them.
Yeah, the best place that they can go is the fivecoatconsultinggroup.com. It will also show up when they do a Google search as TFCG, the fivecoatconsultinggroup.com. That's where the blog is posted. I also cross-post on LinkedIn, so folks can follow me on LinkedIn. Either follow me or follow the company on LinkedIn is another way to find me. But those are the two primary ways that I'm out there.
Awesome. David, this has been awesome journey learning about you. Impressive career, brother. I love, divorce is something that no one ever wants, but I love when people are, the hand you're dealt, you're making the best of it. You're present. You got a great mindset. You're doing the things to teach your daughter, what's important. I think there's a lot of great lessons I learned out of this episode. I think just, creating space for those conversations, encouraging reading. I love that. And that's something I did a lot with my kids, but I think as they get older, it's easy to they're busy doing this, busy doing that, but it's still the power of reading. I love reading. Even if it's 10 minutes a night, it's better than zero.
Right.
I will make sure that we link you in the show notes. I'll make sure that I send people all to your blog. I'm going to check it out myself. I want to say thanks to Catch Seca Seafoods. I want to say thank you to Acme Homes. You guys have been so supportive. I appreciate your trust and commitment and helping inspire fathers through your sponsorship. So that means the world to me. But with that, I want to say, David, thanks again for your time. And this episode of the Quarterback Dadcast is in the books.
Thanks, Casey.